The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
The birth certificate just still will not go away. Matt Drudge all over it yet again. The news media still focusing on it, and this is President Obama's fault. I mean, first we had his literary agency, very awkward for the president, that in 1991, this is not the so-called birthers, this was his own literary agency promoting our future president as being born in Kenya. And then it turns out that they promoted this even until 2007 when Obama finally announced he was running for president, and then they took it down from the literary agency website. Well, now, also, the birth certificate is at the center of a storm in Arizona, which has been debating back and forth whether President Obama meets the state qualifications, in other words, the constitutional eligibility stipulation of natural-born citizen. Does he meet those qualifications? No, in every single state in the United States, the Secretary of State must certify every single candidate running for presidential office. And so in Arizona, the Secretary of State there, his name is Ken Bennett, apparently was planning this coming week to hold a press conference where he was going to announce that there was not enough information yet to certify that Barack Obama was indeed born in Honolulu, thereby possibly making him natural born, although the definition of natural born is a little bit more particular than that. Well, then suddenly, on this past Tuesday, the registrar's office from Honolulu sent a letter, not an actual copy of the birth certificate, but a letter to Bennett of Arizona's Secretary of State. And now Bennett is saying that this letter, which apparently stipulates that Obama was born in Hawaii, this letter now proves, Bennett just announced, that President Obama did have an American birth. It satisfies, he said, Arizona's requirements for having Obama on the upcoming presidential election. The immediate question, because this is Arizona, is whether this also satisfies Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who has been investigating President Obama and the eligibility issue. And joining me right now live is Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Sheriff, what is your response to the Arizona Secretary of State saying that this letter now certifies indeed that Obama meets the requirements and will get on the state ballot?
Well, that doesn't impress me. Why does he ask for the birth certificate, the microfilm, look at the original to see if it exists? So just saying that they're giving some information about the president's background doesn't impress me. We're down there right now in Hawaii trying to resolve this matter.
So to give background information, because I'm looking at the actual letter here, what we have is the Hawaii State Registrar. It's signed by a guy named Alvin T. Onaka, Ph.D., sending your Secretary of State a letter certifying that a, quote, a birth certificate is on file with the Department of Health, indicating that Barack Hussein Obama II was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and then it goes on and lists the information on the birth certificate. It also says that I, the registrar, that the information on the copy of the certification of live birth for Mr. Obama that you attached with your request matches the original record in our file. So in other words, the original record not released, but what we have here is a letter certifying that release. So this now begs the obvious question. Are you, Sheriff Joe, saying that this letter is fabricated, that the information in this letter is deliberately fabricated, is inaccurate, as provided to your Secretary of State?
Well, I think the person that signed that was the registrar, and that's the same person's name on the birth certificate that went around the world, put out by the White House, and there's a little question about his signature when it moves all over that document. I just said from day one, in August when I launched this investigation, I wanted to clear the president. I'm not accusing him of any crime, but I just want to see the microfilm. We have two twins on the microfilm around the time the president was born. So let's see the microfilm. Let's see the original copy of the birth certificate, and then we'll put this to rest.
Yeah, as opposed to the PDF file, which was put online and has some very strange modifications that are not consistent with a scanned document. We're speaking with Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Do you believe then, because we have the Arizona Secretary of State who did say that he's satisfied with what was sent to him, that it proves, according to him at least, that President Obama has a legitimate birth certificate, was born in Hawaii. Do you think that the Arizona Secretary of State should take another look and wait to see whether or not Obama satisfies the requirements to get on your state's ballot?
I'm not going to speak for him. That's his job, not mine. Mine is to investigate possible crimes, which I am doing. And by the way, in police work, when you suspect a crime being committed, what's the next step? Don't you want to know who committed that crime?
Yeah, exactly. So in trying to find that out, you sent your cold case posse lead investigator and a deputy detective to Hawaii. It was in the news over the last few days. What are they seeking in Hawaii? Are they trying to get the original long form and the microfilm? Is that what they're looking for?
Well, they're not going to get any success, believe me. And as time goes on, when they get back, we'll try to let the public know the stonewalling. But our mission is to find out who caused that crime, if there was one that was committed.
Okay.
That's what I want to know. Not just talking about a form and going into a safe, which they won't let us do, or to see an original. I don't know why it's a big secret for the whole world to keep something secret and show an original, or at least show the microfilm that will prove he's born there. Why isn't that happening? Why is just a letter coming out and say, yes, we say that he was born there? Show the proof.
Which we've seen before, by the way. Even a few years ago, we had the Secretary of Health of Hawaii write in a letter, but without showing this was when President Obama didn't even release a birth certificate. At the time, it was just a certification of live birth, and she signed a letter that claimed that that Obama was a natural-born citizen, which is very interesting phraseology because natural-born is the constitutional requirement, and until today, constitutional scholars debate what that term even means. There's no Secretary of Health in the entire country that can certify somebody natural born. They can certify somebody, let's say, born somewhere, but not natural born. This is legal sophistication. Now, you right now, the U.S. Department of Justice, under Eric Holder, of course, under President Obama, whom you are investigating, filed a lawsuit against you claiming all sorts of things, in particular so-called ethnic profiling of Latinos. Do you think that this is the White House's response to your investigation?
Well, we started this in August last year, and of course they came down in December, had their big press conference accusing me of racial profile and all this, and then they just recently filed a lawsuit. I don't know if it's connected with the other situation. I'd like to think it's not. On the other hand, I am concerned why they're picking now to sue me just in an election year when they're trying to get the Hispanic vote. So I think that's more of that than it is payback time for this investigation.
Well, let's hope that you're right, although actually it's not right either way. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, thank you for being here.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.